There you
Yeah,
go.
it'll be good. Hi, Dr. Hamilton here, and we are here with Allan, who's a health coach and certified by the National Academy of Personal Trainers and is certified in so many different things: nutrition, fitness, behavior change. So I'm super excited to talk to him. He specializes in people 40 plus, and he has his own company that he created, 40 Plus Fitness. So thank you so much, Allan, for being on the show. I'm
Thank you,
excited.
Dr. Hamilton. I'm excited too. This is going to be good.
We were talking previously, and so I wanted to talk to a fitness expert because obviously I'm not a fitness expert, and I have a lot of patients and people who give me different reasons. And we were talking about this earlier, the I can'ts, why they can't work out. And I see it often in as people get older. And I kind of want to dispel these myths of, we get it, the body changes, and I'll let you kind of comment on that. But to say you can't do different things anymore because of age, I want you to kind of just dispel those myths. So I'm excited to talk to you.
I'm going to start by correcting you. You are an expert in fitness as it relates to yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what you want. I mean, you start thinking about what fitness means to you, what it really means to you, then suddenly this all gets a lot easier because you're not trying to be an Olympic athlete. You're not trying to win the CrossFit games. You're not trying to be a world-class swimmer. You're just trying to feel better in your own skin. You're just trying to make sure that you can do the things that you need to do. I say this joke all the time. I want to be able to wipe my own butt when I'm 105. And the premise is, okay, there's a lot there. There's strength, there's balance, there's dexterity. It seems like a pretty simple thing, but for a lot of people who are older, it is not. And so so fitness is a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It could be opening your own pickle jar. It can be a lot of little things. Like I want to be able to pick up the groceries without tweaking my back. I want to be able to pick up my child. I want to be able to get on the ground and play with my grandchildren. I don't want to be winded when I walk up the stairs to go to a meeting or while I'm talking to a colleague at work. And so fitness is for yourself, fitness for task. Okay. And as soon as you wrap your mind around that, you are in fact a fitness expert because you know what you need to have to be the person that you need to be. Now, you may need a little help to figure out exactly what to do to make that happen, but it all starts with understanding what fitness means to you. And that takes us to the question of can't. Okay. And a lot of times people can't do something because they really haven't convinced themselves that they should.
That makes sense. I can see that.
Yeah. They know, I mean, okay, I want to lose 15 pounds, so I should go for a run. That's what they tell me to do, right? Get outside and run.
Yeah, exactly.
But my knee hurts every time I run, so I can't run. So therefore I can't exercise, and therefore I can't lose the 15 pounds. I may as well go have a fudge sundae.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So the point being is to get past those can'ts, you have to find the cans. And so the cans are, okay, what can you do?
Correct.
And so it might be, you're absolutely right. You can't run on that knee, or you shouldn't run on that knee because it's continuing to damage the knee.
Yeah.
Go see a medical professional about what you can do to heal your knee. That might be a physical therapist. It might be a doctor, but go see someone and have that conversation so that can't goes away. In the meantime, what can you do? Well, you still have your arms.
Correct.
You can still move as long as you're not putting pressure on that knee. So if your knee hurts you and you can't do squats,
correct.
Maybe you can do wall squats. Okay, a wall squat is basically where you put your back against the wall and you get into the squatted position carefully, and you just hold that bottom position. Here's a cool thing. Women are always better at wall squats than men are. But so hold the wall squat. You'll feel the burn. You'll feel the burn in the top of your legs, what we call the quadriceps, but you'll feel that. You can do that. Even people with bad knees can do that. And so find the can that gives you what you need. And again, if you go back to what you want and need for fitness, it's that. Now, if we talk about running, you might not be able to run.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean you can't walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That doesn't mean you can't find a stationary bike that doesn't hurt your knees because the angles and the push and everything just feels easier, or maybe an elliptical machine. You find the things that'll work. So you have to create your cans.
Yep.
And then if you can, fix the can'ts so they go away.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I also want to comment on what you said earlier, because it goes a lot in line to what I always talk about as far as mindset. So, one of the first things you did was corrected me on the definition of fitness, right? So, everybody in general has this idea of what fitness or exercise. And so, for some people in the brain, that becomes like a bad word. You know what I'm saying? And so, immediately when you mention that, because of the experiences that they've had in the past, it becomes a
Yeah.
bad word. But I'm always saying redefine it, relabel it. And you just
Yeah.
gave a good example of exercise doesn't have to be CrossFit. Exercise doesn't have to be a gym where you're lifting, and fitness doesn't have to be that either. Fitness, you gave some really good examples about shifting the perspective, which I talk about a lot, and changing the mindset. And then you're able to kind of get into and be able to open up so many more possibilities when you kind of switch that in your head. Fitness could be opening a can of pickles, like you said, you know what I'm saying? And all the little things that it takes. I didn't even think about it, but to wipe your bottom, you have to stand up, you have to lean up, you know what I'm saying? Stretch over, all these different
Yeah.
things, right? That you don't even think about. So I think that's actually a really good example. So I liked how you started off with, we have to change, it sounds like, the definition of what fitness is to us. And we all know what that looks like to us. And then or create what you want it to look like, perhaps, or what you want it to be. And so moving from the I can't to the I can. So another thing that I have patients often say I can't. So knee pain is big. Other types of joint pain, which you're saying there's multiple different things that you can do. I have people blame weather. I have people blame busy lifestyle, or they say they just don't like they say exercise. So how would you make adjustments for those, for example?
Okay. Well, we'll talk about the weather because I think that's a fun one. I moved to Panama because I don't like cold weather. Now, I'm not saying you have to move to Panama to get
correct
fit. If you want to, it's great down here. It does rain a lot, so you still have to exercise in the rain if you're going to do it outside. But you can do a lot of this stuff inside. There's all kinds of opportunities for you to do the things you need to do to exercise inside. So if you find your brain going to I can't, then you've missed the critical point of who you really want to be and what fitness actually means for you. So, I look at myself and people have told me that I'm really kind of strange for thinking this way, but I've seen the generations in front of me. I've seen my father and my grandfather and my mother, and I've seen people in front of me, and I've seen their path. And that's like looking into the future.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm genetically going to follow that path, but it's a close one. We're all
predisposed.
We're going to all get pretty old. By the time we're 85, we're all going to be basically the same 85-year-old person if we basically do the same things.
Correct.
So we have the option to make these changes that fundamentally change who we're going to be. Okay. And so I'm making a decision today that's going to affect me 30 years from now.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you're caught up in the word exercise and workout and all this other vernacular, well, then you're thinking about it the wrong way. What I'm doing today is training to be an awesome 85-year-old. I'm training to be an awesome 105-year-old. I changed my life because I was watching my daughter become me, and I was watching myself become another old grandparent. I was getting older. So she was she was in her early 20s, and she started doing CrossFit and obstacle course races, things like that. We didn't have that when I was her age, but I was still doing similar stuff. So I said, well, and she said something to me one day. She said, Daddy, I want you to come watch me do this CrossFit competition. And I'm thinking to myself, I should be doing the CrossFit competition. and not watching her. So I did not want to be a spectator in her life. I wanted to be a participant. And what I realized was I was losing myself, and I was not who I wanted to be, and I was becoming a spectator. And you
Yeah.
see it all the time. The person sitting on the park bench while the kids are playing in the playground. No, I want to be in the playground too. I want to
Yeah.
be playing and crawling and rolling and doing all that kind of stuff. And I realized I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I pushed myself and I said, hey, I want to be where she is. I want to be there with her. I signed up for a Tough Mudder with her. Now she's a
Wow.
level 1 CrossFit coach, 2020. She's about 20 years old at the time. And I was turning 47, I mean
Yeah.
46. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. Now I was in no shape to do it when I
Yeah.
first started, but I had a vision now of what I needed to be like, who I
Yeah.
needed to be like. So now when I went into it, I was not exercising. I was not working out. I was training. I was
Yeah.
training to be a Tough Mudder. And so I don't have a Tough Mudder that I'm signed up for right now. What I'm training for, because both my daughters got married this year, yet one's gotten married, one's about to get married, is I'm training to be an awesome grandfather.
Yeah. That's great.
So I'm not going to be the grandfather sitting in the couch or chair or rocking chair or
Yeah.
whatever, looking down on them while they play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be crawling all over that floor with those little youngsters and enjoying the heck out of it.
Yeah.
And then, there's a joke when you get a little older, it's like, I don't get on the floor unless I have a plan how to get back up. Train today and you're getting up tomorrow. You're not
Yeah,
worried about it,
exactly.
So don't think of it as exercise, think of it as training.
Yeah.
And so,
Correct.
the things we talked about, like, wiping your butt, it's not glamorous, but it's something you still want to be able to do for yourself.
Correct.
There's leg strength. If you're sitting in the living room and you realize you have to go, you've got to have a little bit of speed. You got to get
Yeah.
up, speed. Now you're sitting down. You want to be careful. You got balance. And
Yeah.
now you're sitting there. Now you have to have dexterity to twist and turn and move and stand back up.
Yeah.
And so all those basic movement patterns are functional movement.
Yeah.
And so if you look at how can I just be more functional in the things I do today and knowing the things I'm going to want to do tomorrow. My wife and I are down in Panama. We run a bed and breakfast. So they'll deliver water in these 5-gallon things, the water coolers you guys see
Yeah.
in the office space. We buy about 10 of those at a time. And so they all come in. They're all 5 gallons. They weigh about 44 pounds.
Yeah. They're heavy.
So I
Yeah.
have to pick them up and take them to the other side of the house, which is about 50 feet. I
Yeah.
sometimes have to take them upstairs. Some of them have handles. I can actually carry 2 of them, like in what they call a farmer's
Oh,
carry.
wow. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I'm 57 years old and I want to be able to still do that. If we're still running the bed and breakfast 10
Yeah.
years from now, I don't want to have to hire a kid
Correct.
to take them into the back or to take them upstairs because I can't physically do it.
Yeah.
And so it's just saying, what functionally do you might not need to carry those water bottles around, but I
Yeah.
need to be able to pick them up off the ground and carry them. That's something I need to be able to do.
Correct.
So how do I do that? I train to be able to continue to do that.
To do that. So then here's a question. Is there ever a point where you're like, because you hear people say, oh, you're too old, you shouldn't be doing that anymore. Is that like a common myth? Do you ever see any clients where you're like, they probably shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z, like taking out injury or other, you know what I'm saying, like obvious causes?
The short answer is always going to be no.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is this: if you did it yesterday, you should pretty much be able to do it tomorrow. And so the basic thing is, if you run marathons and you ran a marathon in February, and you should be able to run another marathon in May. You should be able to continue to run marathons until you decide you just don't want to. If you want to lift heavy weights, squat 500 pounds, you should be able to continue to squat 500 pounds. If you want to get up every morning and run 4 miles, and that's your fun, and that's where you find solace and connect with nature and really get in your head, then get up every morning and run 4 miles. If you like doing CrossFit, and know what you're doing and have good coaches, by all means, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so the point being is, and this kind of thing, we don't get old because we don't stop training because we get old. We get old because we stop training.
You know what? And that's true. Yeah.
They say play, the quote was play, but the principle is this, is if you keep working, you fight aging, you fight
Yeah, correct. That's
sarcopenia, you
true.
fight osteopenia. And so
Correct.
all the things that make us look like shriveled old prunes when we get older, training and good nutrition and sleep and stress
Yeah.
management, those basic foundations of health keep you younger.
Yeah.
Meaning that as the aging curve goes, which it's still going to go,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
just goes
Exactly.
slower for you. And the other cool thing is this is and it's cool and sad is one is you have complete control over how well you live. Meaning if you're doing the right training, the right nutrition, the right rest, the right stress management, then you're going to age slower.
Yeah.
And so, so many people they dip down, diabetes or heart
Yeah.
disease, and
And
they're
then they're
taking
just
more and more
done.
meds
Like they just
and
like
the
throw their
meds and
hands
the
up.
meds and the meds. Right. And so now they just sink down
Yes.
and they live out a terrible, terrible, miserable last 15
Yeah.
years of their life. And I don't want that. I don't think you
Yeah.
want that. So
Correct.
it's like, how about if you could live your whole life and you run for 4 miles every single day because you love it, and you ran for 4 miles today and you go to sleep and you just don't wake up tomorrow, you're 85 years old and someone would have told you stop running.
Yeah.
And I mean, you think about it, if you loved running, then you're not doing it.
Yeah.
And there's, it could be tennis, it could be
Yeah,
playing with
anything.
your grandchildren. It's like,
Correct.
no, I've got to sit in my rocking chair and watch my grandchildren play kickball because I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Bull,
Yeah, I
bull, bull.
know. I think that's bad. I
I'm
agree. I
I'm
think that's,
I'm playing kickball with grandkids.
yeah, no, I agree. So that's how people would say find their motivation, right? Like they have to just kind
Yeah.
of look beyond, and kind of dig deep. What advice do you give for people who don't don't like it at all and can't get motivated to do it? I get a lot of that. I get a lot of
Okay.
people who say, I just can't get motivated. So how do you answer that question?
Okay, we do motivation backwards. We've always done it backwards. So motivation is not something you get. It's not like you charge yourself. You go in there and plug in. It's like now I'm adding motivation. Now there are basically two types of motivation. There's extrinsic motivation and there's
Yeah,
intrinsic motivation. So
correct.
extrinsic is external and intrinsic is the internal stuff. So when someone says they're not motivated, typically they're talking about the intrinsic stuff. I just don't have anything inside me that tells me I want to do this.
Yeah,
And so
correct.
that's where they feel like that struggle is. And so what's happens is, but it's easier to get extrinsic motivation than it is to get intrinsic motivation, but
Correct.
they feed together. So I could hire a coach. Okay. And I hire a good coach and that coach keeps me motivated because guess what? That guy shows up at the gym or he emails me every day. Did you
Yeah,
do your workout? Is
correct.
everything on track?
It's
And
being
so I know that
accountable.
I'm accountable to this individual. And so I see them as a coach or as a leader, and I'm accountable to them. And so that's an extrinsic motivator. Another one can be a group thing. Like, so now you're in a social group, like a Facebook group, or you go to a fitness class. And
Yeah.
so you go to this fitness class, like all my friends are going to be there. And if I don't show up, I'm going to hear about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
And plus I enjoy it. I enjoy having the
Yeah.
conversations before class and after class and all. So now I have some extrinsic motivation from a social group. So there's social.
Yeah.
So I can take the extrinsic, say there's a coach coach leader, and there's
Correct.
the social. So there's two kinds of that. There's also two kinds of intrinsic. So the first kind of intrinsic is where you tell yourself, okay, here's my New Year's resolution. I'm going to do this thing. Okay. And that's a hard one, but
Yeah,
it
it is.
works.
That doesn't,
Most people will start. They'll start.
they'll
That's the
start.
one.
Yes.
It'll
Yes.
start you. And so I'm just saying it's good, but it's not great. And then
Yeah.
so the other one is where you start seeing something happen. So you at least stick with it just long enough that the scale moves a little bit,
Yeah.
or
You
you
feel
you
better,
kind of
more
you stand there,
energy.
you look in the mirror in the morning, you're like, wow, my shoulders look kind of good in this,
Yeah.
top. And so now there's this intrinsic, I'm building something here. What I'm
Yeah.
doing is mattering. Now, the problem is that second one, the more the social aspect of how I look and feel and all, that takes a little while.
Yeah, correct.
And you're being your own boss can work for a little while. I mean, it takes a while, but then work, I mean, it starts, but then it takes a while and it doesn't last long. So sometimes that bridge gets broken. Like I try to be my own boss, I fail, and I don't see
Mhm.
results fast enough, and I fail.
Correct.
See, yeah, that really hard. So look to these extrinsic opportunities of hiring a coach or building a social network around this. Meet your friend at the park for a walk.
Yeah.
Walk, and if the weather's bad, go to the mall. They allow mall walkers. You can
Yeah.
just walk all the way around that mall, no problem whatsoever. And so find an opportunity to either have that coach leader responsible that you're responsible to by hiring them, or find the social circle that you enjoy that you can go train and work with them. And that will then put all these other things much easier. And now I'm
Yeah.
starting to see results because I'm going on my daily runs with my run club. And we're, I'm not putting a ton of miles, but I'm starting to see results on the scale. I'm
Yeah.
starting to see my stamina improve. I'm starting to feel better about myself. My confidence levels up. And I'm also making some really great friends that, I
Yeah.
really enjoy spending time with. So there's just this social boom, boom, boom. I feel good,
Correct.
my life is fuller for what I'm doing. And so there's more value than just the workout,
Yeah.
you know?
Correct.
And so when you start putting those things together and working them the way you need to work them, it makes motivation happen.
Correct.
So
That's true.
motivation is not just something that you get, it's something that you set up, it's something that you earn. So intrinsic comes from the doing. The first doing is I'm telling myself
Yeah. Correct.
I'm working out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I start seeing results, and then my body's telling me, hey, keep doing this. This is
Yeah.
good
This feels
stuff.
good. This looks
Right.
good.
This feels good. And so but that comes from the doing. You see how
Yeah.
there's the doing. I have to first tell yourself, do,
I can.
I can. The do, hire a coach. The do, find
Yeah.
friends that are into this stuff and spend more time with them. Jim Rohn is a motivational speaker, and he said you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah. I agree. Yep.
If those folks are exercising and training and doing stuff that's healthy and fitness related, guess what you're going to be spending more time doing?
Yep.
So
Correct.
it's a true statement, not just in business. It's a true statement in
All
fitness.
in life in
Yeah.
general. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. So, okay. So once people find that motivation, what do you recommend for them to just get started out? Say people haven't like worked out, say I'm 50 and I haven't worked out in 20 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What are some things that I can probably, I'm motivated to get started because now almost like you, like, my kids are now having kids, you know what I'm saying? Grandkids, and I want to be around. So that's my motivation. What do you recommend for people just to get started, or how do people get started?
Okay. Any movement is good movement. So I'm not going to poo poo anything. So if you decide I'm just going to start picking up some yoga videos on YouTube and doing those, and I'm going to go for a walk after work, and you just start putting those things together,
Correct.
great. But the way to make this meaningful and to really feel the momentum of doing something is to say, okay, I'm going to want to be able to keep up with those grandkids when I take them to the zoo. I'm going to want to be able to crawl around with them on the floor when they're rolling around doing anything else. I won't be able to sit on the floor for half an hour and
Yeah,
watch
correct.
a
And get back
show
up.
and get back up. I'll tell you a story. I met my wife and we started dating, and her son had a daughter, and the daughter was terrified of me. Like literally wouldn't say a word around me, just afraid of me. And I never really understood it, other than I'm a big bald guy and maybe just a little intimidating. And so what I did one day is I walked over, she liked SpongeBob. So I
Yeah.
went over, I went on YouTube and I put SpongeBob on my computer, and I walked over and I sat down on the floor and I put my laptop on the floor and started watching SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And she came over and sat down beside me to watch SpongeBob with me. And we watched SpongeBob for probably about an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
And, but sitting on the floor, I'm squirming, I'm moving around, she's
Yeah.
moving around. But we sat there watching SpongeBob, and it changed everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
She saw me as someone on her level. She saw me in an entirely different way than she had seen me, and it created a relationship.
Yeah.
And so when you start thinking about grandkids and the different things that you're going to want to do, there's going to be movement patterns and strengths and things, endurance, fitness,
Correct.
speed, strength,
Yeah.
mobility, those just different things, if you start thinking about the movement patterns you're going to need to do that. So we're at the zoo and they're going to run. We're at the monkeys and they're like, we want to see the
Yeah.
lions. Where are the lions? The lions are over there. The kids take off running.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
want to be sitting on the park bench waiting for them to finish their zoo trip.
Yeah.
I'm going to run with them.
Correct.
Let them run. That's
And
why they're there. Burn that energy out.
correct. Correct. And it's funny because as you talk, I mean, we say older parent, like grandkids and the grandparents, but I've seen this in adults, nowadays, people with their own kids. It's the same concept. Like
Yeah.
they can't even walk around the zoo. I see so many kids, and you're right, that motivated me. I had kids older, later 30s. And so I wanted to make sure I was able to play with them on the park. That's probably one of the reasons I still, try to work out, because for me, that's my internal motivator. And it's funny
Yeah.
that you mentioned that, because it can get hot at the zoo in the summers, and you got to be able to keep up. And I have a lot of patients who are 30s, early 30s, who can't, you know what I'm saying, because of multiple medical conditions, weight,
Yeah.
and then, like you said, diabetes and all these other things. So I mean, that's 100%, I think anybody's a motivator for anybody to want to be able to get started. Yeah.
Right. So one of my clients, when we first started working together, she told me, she said, no, I'm in such pathetic shape. I can't walk to my car without getting winded.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. I said, here's what I want you to do. Tomorrow, walk to your car and then just walk around it. And then you can get in.
Yeah.
Okay. And I said, it's even gonna be a little harder than just walking to your car. And I said, just do that for a few days and we'll meet back in a few days and we'll talk about it. We were talking about it. She says, yeah, it's the first day it was kind of hard. And by about the third or fourth day, I was able to walk around the car and I was a
Yeah.
little winded, but I felt better. And I'm like, okay, now 2 laps around the car.
Yeah.
Okay. Within just a few weeks, she's walking the neighborhood.
Yeah. That's a
Okay.
great example of getting
Your
started.
body responds to what you tell it. If you
Yeah.
tell it you need it to move more, it helps you move more. And so
Correct.
it's one of these the human body is one of the most incredible tools, one of the most incredible things that's ever existed. And so you
I
have
agree.
this opportunity to build yourself to just really be special for
Yeah.
yourself, for the people around you. And it goes so deep, because how you live your fitness, how you feel, what you're capable of doing, it impacts your confidence,
Yeah.
it impacts your
Correct.
relationships, it impacts
Yep.
your energy level. It's all of that. And
Yep.
so this little investment of a little bit of training
Correct.
has one of the most incredible payoffs, and your body's there to help you do it.
Yeah.
And then it's the experiences, because I can tell you, when I crossed the finish line with my daughter holding her hand when we crossed and finished that Tough Mudder together, because I didn't want to just do the Tough Mudder with her. I didn't want to slow her down. I didn't want to
Yeah.
be
Exactly.
handicapped,
Correct.
and so when I was trained for it. And so
Yeah.
when it came time, I was able to do all the obstacles with her and be there with her and run
Yeah.
through the electricity with her. And then at the very finish line, finish that race with her, holding
Yeah.
her hand. That's an experience no one on this earth can ever take from me.
Correct.
And it ranks right up there with when she wrapped her fingers around my pinky when she was
Yeah.
first born, and just recently when I walked her
Down the
down
aisle.
the aisle. And so you start thinking about the experiences you want to have. Okay. I want to see my grandchildren get married.
Yeah.
I want to see my great grandchildren get married. I want to play with them. I want to be in their lives. I want to be an influence for them to see, here's a old freaking, I don't even like, he's older than dirt and he's still here and he's still playing with us.
Yeah.
He's the only one out here. Even adults, and none of the adults are out here. He's out here playing kickball with us, and we don't even know how old he is. They don't have numbers that big,
Yeah.
and that's where their head is. You
Yeah.
look at old when we were younger, we looked at old people and said, "Oh my God, I don't ever want
Yeah.
to be that
Correct.
old." And now we are,
Exactly.
and now we are. And so it's just that point of saying, I want to live a life that is full and it has experiences And for the kids and the people all the way around, I want them to see
Yeah.
me as that example, to say, hey, if he can do it, I can do it.
Correct.
And so as you look at yourself and say, okay, what does fitness mean for me? And why is this really important? The children, the grandchildren, the life,
Yeah.
the experience. I have clients who tell me, I want to do Machu Picchu.
Correct.
And
Yeah. I was going to say travel, like,
right, all of it.
yeah. I mean, you can't like walk around and see sights, in retirement or wherever, you know what I'm saying? Winded and, just take some of the joy out of it. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's this opportunity to have a fuller life. And so your why has to be this big, deep emotional thing. And it's already theirs if you just wake up to it. The
Correct.
vision is, who do you need to be able to do that thing? And it changes over time. It is
Correct.
different training for a Tough Mudder and training to be 105 and wipe my own butt. There's
Correct.
some things that are going to be a little different in that, but I understand that's my aging line, and I just have to train appropriate for where I am with what I need to do.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to be doing a Tough Mudder at 105, but I don't know, medical
Yeah.
science, we have no idea. But whatever we're doing, whatever's there, I want to be enjoying it. I want to be living well. I want to have a good life. And I know you do too. So it's just, instead of looking at it as, oh, I got to do this workout and I don't want to, it's training.
Yeah.
And, it's so
Correct.
you're the better person. And one of the mantras I use is better me tomorrow. And so if you think about what you're doing today, is it making you better tomorrow?
Yeah.
And that's what fitness
Correct.
is. That's what training is. And so don't be poo-pooed by the words workout and exercise and
Yeah.
sweat and all that other stuff. That all washes off. Those words mean nothing. You're training to be the person you're going to be tomorrow.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, I wanted to just add on to what you were saying before we close. Is I read an article recently out of Europe where they were like 11 minutes a day of exercise. Literally, they found studies that decreased mortality, meaning your risk of dying. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we didn't even touch on this, but I have before all the benefits of movement, however that looks to you. Like, do your Alzheimer risk decreases, your diabetes risk, it decreases, like all these things where we started with, well, I see my grandmother and my father and who all have like medical conditions. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these can go away with fitness. And not only that, but the other benefit out of everything that you mentioned, we're not going to die as soon. We can decrease our risk of death just by doing 11 minutes of a brisk walk or something a day, which I think when you dial it down for most people, that's doable for most people,
Yeah. But beyond the longer, it's better. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
other side of it.
Yeah.
Who wants to live to
In
100
pain
years
and
old if the last
sitting.
20 years, of your life is miserable and you can't leave
Yeah.
your apartment? And
Correct.
so it's thinking about, what do I want my life to be like? And, we'll go to work for 40 something years or 50
Yeah.
years and put all that time and effort into that and hate it. And I hate my job, but I show up
Waiting
every
for
month because they
retirement.
pay me because I'm going to retire. And then you retire and you can't do
Yeah,
anything,
I agree. You become a
So
spectator.
now instead of sitting in your cube doing this stuff, you're sitting on your couch watching
Yeah.
Jeopardy. And, that's
Yeah,
not the life
I
you
agree.
planned. And so, a little bit of effort today is sort of like putting into that 401k. It's the investment that's going to be there for you when you
Correct.
get older, so that the older years are better years.
Yeah, I agree. I like that analogy. I'm gonna have to steal that for my patients. In regards to both food and fitness, what you put in today will pay off. That's a great analogy. So thank you very much. So thank you very much for being here. You can find out more from Allan and what he does and take a quiz at 40fitness.com/fit. We will put that
Actually
in the show notes. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's 40plusfitness.com/fit. It's a little 60-second quiz to kind of tell you about some of the blockers that you might have toward fitness. So if you've tried and failed, and you're not quite sure why you keep struggling to make this happen, this quiz will give you an idea and some insights into your mindset and how you can get past it.
Perfect. That's perfect. Thank you so much for that correction. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.